Howdy and welcome to my feedback for the mini lessons one. I will start by looking at Ashley's mini lesson one. So overall, I thought Ashley demonstrated a really strong understanding of the middle years pedagogies and the quality teaching model. My focus for this feedback will be around deep knowledge connectedness and a couple of considerations for the future as per the feedback sheet that she provided. But first of all, one thing I think that she really, a real strength of her lesson was the use of learning intentions at the start, which aligns strongly with the quality teaching practices, and it makes those learning intentions accessible and student friendly, so they're able to sort of know what's happening and understanding of what they're working towards and how they can achieve success throughout the lesson, which is really good for student regulation as well. And yeah, it's really important in the middle years because they can benefit from clarity around expectations of what they need to do for the lesson and things like that. But then with the deep knowledge, she demonstrated a good understanding of the content throughout the lesson. He explained the concepts really well, clearly and confidently. He used really good terms, appropriate scientific languages, supporting the students in developing accurate understanding of the content that they're actually trying to teach, that they're trying to learn. I thought, which was really good. And then the explanations showed that you got a really strong grasp of the topic, and you understand the ins and outs of what you're trying to explain, which establishes you as like a credible teacher, a knowledgeable teacher in the classroom that the kids and students can really respect. In terms of connectedness, I thought the videos you used at the start of the lesson were quite effective in connecting the students to the learning and the topic. They were sort of like a hook as well, that helps sort of situate the content in a real world sort of context, which supports connectors as well, which is one of the key elements of the quality teaching. You did this through the videos throughout the lesson and also through the hooks at the start with the running and looking at what that sort of looks like, why they don't overheat, etc. But to build on this, you could use more of these short clips or visual prompts with questioning throughout the lesson as well. I think that would be really good and sort of encourage students to think about how the content relates to their own lives and experiences, which could, yeah, increase the engagement within the middle years sector. And just some other feedback points that I sort of wrote down. One thing was that there was lots of content throughout the lesson, so there was a big cognitive load, which is just, yeah, lots of information covered in the lesson, which could be overwhelming to some students. So maybe just going forward, looking at ways to break that down into smaller chunks or prioritize a few key concepts or ideas per lesson, to, yeah, support this deeper understanding of the content. And that could also open up more opportunities for students to like process, discuss, and apply their learning in different situations. So yeah, maybe just looking at those key things and looking at how much information you are providing for each lesson. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. Oh, another key point was that the lesson wrapped up really quickly. There wasn't really a wrap up at all. It was sort of just the video just sort of ended, and there wasn't a conclusion or a brief reflection about anything that was happening in the lesson. So maybe just have a wrap up. Um, and things like that. And then, yeah, just sort of maybe trying to provide some more opportunities for students to check their understanding. So you can check their understanding so you do know that the students are learning throughout the lesson. But overall, good planning. You obviously really know the content really well. So good work. And yeah, a lot of the pedagogies align really well with the middle year sort of stuff. So great work and looking forward to seeing the rest of your unit. Alrighty, so the second person I'll be looking at was Sam Cowley. Hopefully I said that right. But no, I thought Sam was really good. Your first lesson was awesome. I'm not an artsy person, so it was interesting to sort of listen in and learn a little bit about comic book writing and things like that. But no, I thought it was a pretty good lesson. The feedback that I'll be looking at will be deep knowledge, high expectations, and substantive communication, which is what you put in your feedback sheet. But yeah, for starters, in terms of deep knowledge, I thought it was a real clear strength in your lesson. You really maintained strong focus on like a couple of key concepts, which is like the visual literacy that you're talking about, and the ideas that images are like read by the viewers. It's not just something you look at. The introduction of those C, S, and I lines was good meta language, and I think you explained that really well. It gave students a clear, manageable framework to understand the drawing rather than overwhelming them with heaps of different techniques. You really just stuck to those three sort of things that you sort of look at, the C, S, and I lines, and then you sort of, yeah, incorporated that throughout, which showed really good deep knowledge. So yeah, I think I've got some slides there of those different lines, and I thought you used them really effectively and continue to refer back to them throughout the lesson. Oh, sorry. Yep, there we go. In terms of substantive communication, I thought it was pretty good to an extent. You created some opportunities through explanation and modelling. I think your way of communicating to the students was really good. You spoke through your thoughts essentially as you're drawing things like that, which helps students sort of get to know how you're thinking, as well as what they should be sort of thinking and the thoughts behind that. And to get them thinking about why certain line choices matter in different instances, like you were trying to explain, which was great. You could also, considering it's an online lesson, you could build some pauses, add in some pauses, get them to type or verbalize which line they used and why, maybe incorporate a Padlet or something so you can understand some student thoughts as well, rather than, because in some cases you could get your students just passively watching what you were modeling and stuff. But overall, I thought that was pretty good. And with your engagement and connectedness for your lesson, I thought the opening, the Valley and the Tiger story worked really good as like a hook for the lesson. It was engaging, it was like memorable. The kids were immediately sort of connecting that visual literacy to things they might have experienced in their real world, and the way you were telling the story, which supports that connectedness as well. And using that in an online lesson is a good, effective strategy to sort of hold that attention and establish a purpose early in the session. I liked how you then went back to it and consistently referred to that story throughout the lesson. So well done on that front. But yeah, overall, it was a really strong online lesson. You established those clear things that you were looking at early in those different lines of drawing. You used effective modeling throughout your drawing processes and the way you spoke through that as well, and sort of set some high expectations as well for the students. Maybe just have a bit of a better wrap up as well, a reflective moment, and yeah, trying to incorporate some ways to check for the student understanding throughout the lesson would be effective in the future. But well done. And the third person I'll be looking at giving feedback for this unit is Tina. Tina, I thought your lesson one was a really strong introduction to the unit. It aligned really well with the QTM, and the focus of this feedback will be on deep knowledge, connectedness, and substantive communication, as per the feedback sheet you were after. In terms of deep knowledge, I thought this lesson was structured around a small number of key concepts that were good, particularly the relationship between population growth, food security, and scientific research, and how that responds to societal needs. And rather than treating genetic engineering in isolation, you're able to build it like conceptual understanding by looking at the different ideas from the population growth, the land limitations, and increasing crop yields, and then genetic engineering as a response as well. So it sort of supported that deep understanding by getting students to see the big picture from the science and society overall, rather than just focusing on one of them and looking at the science only. You really honed in an aspect of science and society as well. So I thought that was excellent. And it was really effective for the online lesson where those ideas were really showed good direction and was super essential in creating that overall picture. So well done on that deep knowledge front. Oh, and I just put some photos there of what you were talking about as well. In terms of substantive communication, there were a lot of strong opportunities for this throughout the lesson in group discussions. I think you used Padlet really, really well, and it was a good way to see the whole class ideas. And then I loved how you had examples of what that sort of looked like as well. The Mentimeter, I think it's called, the word cloud at the end of the lesson was super effective as an online strategy as well. You could see how the students could contribute, and then also see what other people in the class were sort of thinking as well. So it was great to get that sort of whole class vibe in your communication. It felt like a two-way street rather than you just talking at us. Um, but yeah, maybe to strengthen this a little bit, you could look at more explicit prompts where students could justify why a factor may impact crop yields, or to deepen that reasoning and listening to ideas rather than just sort of like giving the prompts a word, like really get them to think about that why. But overall, I think you did a really good job at creating a two-way street over an online lesson, which is a hard thing to do. So well done there. But overall, I thought it was, yeah, a really good lesson structure. I think the way you did that was really good. It concluded with a good interactive activity as well. Maybe one thing you could do, you could look at putting the learning intentions and success criteria at the start of the lesson, so the kids are understanding what they need to, or what they're trying to achieve for the lesson, and how they can be successful in doing that. But other than that, I think you did really good. Maybe include like a brief reflective question at the end, just to keep them thinking. Like, I don't know, what is one way society influences scientific research? Something just to get them thinking about the lesson, and a bit of a recap before they finish off. But overall, really well done lesson. I'm super excited to see the rest of your unit, so good work.